And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, August 17th, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 28. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Matt.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm RJ.
Almost a full house. Dennis is in the chat room, and he's watching the show there. Dennis will be with us next week, actually, one of his rare appearances on the show, but he'll be with us. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. 334-272-9228. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat, as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch TV. You can find us there, as well as join the chat room live while we broadcast. And also check out our YouTube channel for a broadcast of games that we play. We're going to try and do some more stuff with that. So far, it's just me on there, but that is going to be changing very, very soon, hopefully. And probably get into something where we can all be on, I don't know, a free-to-play MMO or something that we're all playing the same thing together and can and you can watch us as we play. But yeah, we've been using that. So thanks for everybody subscribing to that and the thumbs up, the comments, and everything else. I'm not very good at doing like first looks or whatever that Giant Bomb does or anything like that. I've never done stuff like this before, so all I can do is pretty much play it as awkward as you saw me play Papers, Please for the very first time.
That's what first looks are. Awkward, uncomfortable, ill-informed,
Well, I achieved
foul
that.
ups.
Did I achieve that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then I'm doing it right, correct?
Yes, you were
Okay.
awkward, you were ill-informed, and that's all that's required.
That doesn't only happen on first looks, though. That happens on every time I play a game, no matter how many times. So enjoy it. Anyway, on to the news here. We've, I don't know, we got a lot here. I guess it's our Microsoft reversal of the week.
Multiple reversals.
Yeah. What did we get?
Not all for the better. What did we get this? The weeks are starting to blend together. I can't tell one reversal from another now. I think the only thing that they have not changed significantly is the price.
Yeah, no, price is still there. Price is still there. You
don't even have to plug the Kinect in anymore.
But you still have to buy it.
You still have to buy it. You still have to. I mean, you can leave it in the box, I suppose.
True. Maybe. I wonder if you have to do a one-time startup with it plugged in.
That wouldn't be surprising at all.
Yeah.
Actually, given the number of things you're probably going to have to do at least one time.
Mm-hmm.
While setting up your Xbox. I'm still convinced that the actual experience of opening up and setting up and preparing for first use when you get your Xbox One is going to be quite a bit different than what people expect. I think there are a lot of things that still haven't been talked about how that system is going to work.
Yeah.
But there's, not as much time anymore, but there's still plenty of time for that. But what was it this week? It was the Kinect will work unplugged, yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is something that before it seemed like they weren't budging on that sort of situation. They weren't saying it could be unplugged. They just said that you could turn it off or you could turn it, whatever. You could have it. It had to be plugged in, but you could turn it off.
They were being shady about it.
They were. Not being completely clear.
Right.
Giving the best answer that they could as far as, we're not going to tell you exactly what this is, but here's something you should do with it. We don't want you to unplug this. We want it to be plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
But we will tell you can turn it off. You just have to leave it plugged in. So, but now, no, that's fine. You can unplug it. It doesn't even, the Xbox One will work without it being plugged in. And last week it was that we were getting a headset when they told us we weren't getting a headset.
Right.
So who knows what it's going to be. This machine is nothing like what it was on the 21st. And hasn't been.
It doesn't appear to be anything like the machine it was on the 21st.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe next week it won't be $500.
I can't say that. I was going to say I don't think so, but then it's like
you never know.
If you had asked me a couple of weeks ago about any of these other features that they reversed on and said, "Nah, I'm thinking they're probably going to stick with this." No, they're going to reverse it.
I don't know that. I don't know that the Kinect, whatever this news is about the Kinect, I don't know that that's actually a reversal of any particular kind necessarily. Again, I think it's worth noting
clarity. Then,
yeah. One of the things that they didn't do was speak clearly and plainly. They didn't get their point across to a lot of people who had a lot of detailed questions. They weren't interested in giving you the details of the system. They were interested in talking to you about television. They were interested in the sales pitch and not the details. And they forgot that the details are very much a part of the sales pitch anymore because people are savvy about those details and they're interested in them. So not being able to deliver on those meant that, yes, a lot of these changes amounted to pulling a 180. A lot of them don't. A lot of them just amount to clarification. So that's okay. I don't think it's even really worth mentioning about the Kinect being unplugged. Honestly, I really don't. I don't think it's that big a deal. And I don't know that it's necessarily any different from what they truly meant before. I think the things that do matter are some of the changes to, or the clarifications to what they're doing now with the Xbox Live Gold plan. Because they killed the previous Xbox Live Family Gold plan, and now their Gold plan has been sort of resurrected in a similar fashion. It looks a little bit like what they had been offering before.
From my understanding is that if there's at least one gold subscriber on a machine, then all of the other user accounts will have access to all of the gold features on that machine.
Right. Does that have to be that account's home machine?
Yes.
That's not too bad. So a guest account, say, couldn't come on and access those gold features. Right, because that's the distinction, is that each account has a home system. That is something that they said a ways back, and they haven't either clarified or changed their minds about, or changed the pitch.
So if I go over to Scott's house, I wouldn't be able to, if I don't have gold, sap off of his.
Right. That's what it seemed like.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, if it has to be its home system.
What I meant was that it had to be the home system for the account that had gold.
Yeah, my question is, does it have to be the home system for all the other accounts?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Okay. I think that's the thing that matters the most, actually. And I still don't understand how you're supposed to define that, how you're expected to define that. Again, it doesn't affect me at all. I'm going to have to wait to hear from someone else, because I will never do that. At least I don't think I would ever do that. But a reversal that's not possible to look at as good news is the contraction of the number of markets they're going to be launching into. I'm assuming you saw that.
Or were there like 6 or 7 markets that they're not going to be able to?
21 down to 13 markets.
Okay.
Right.
That's not good. I think Russia's not getting it.
No, Russia's not getting
Australia, Austria, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Mexico, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and New Zealand. Those are the 13 at launch.
Yeah. The other ones will get it
Later on in the year.
They'll get
Next
it in
year.
2014.
Yeah,
sometime in 2014.
Oh.
Not later on in the
This
launch
year.
year. Well,
Yeah.
Later on in 2014.
If we're still entertaining speculation, and of course we are, then, well, but
What
then,
are we here
Because
for?
it's not out yet.
then this contraction could very much be a kind of secondary evidence that their yield issues, that the yield issues that they were having with their SOC are actually true.
Their ability to turn out processors that are usable and able to go
Right.
into these machines.
That one of the ways to make sure that you meet demand, and that you can say that we've got no yield issues, we've met demand in all the territories into which we're launching. We've just halved the number of territories in which we're launching, so that we have more machines available for each of those individual shipping territories. That requires, to believe that piece of evidence has anything to do with the yield issues requires a significant amount of distrust in Microsoft, which is in abundance. I don't think anybody has trust for Microsoft at the moment. So, and this is backed up, whether you actually believe in it or not. This is backed up by a number of the long-running, substantiated, deep throat style leakers that you can find at places like NeoGAF. That this is exactly what is happening, that this piece of information is tied to another piece of information over here. And what it really does is, instead of just providing an opportunity to make fun of Microsoft and to just give yourself another reason to dislike them if you already do, it gives you it provides another example that the system might still be in trouble, that they're recovering a little bit, for the message is recovering a little bit, right? The image might be recovering a little bit, but the system itself might still be on shaky legs. It might actually have a very tough time for a while after launch if they're making these kinds of decisions.
Yeah.
Drastic decisions to avoid bad press, very drastic decisions to avoid issues with supply.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, though, as much as they can do, and they can do a lot, I think ultimately it comes down to their price beats your price. on any kind of level of how we're going to do this year, Sony's price beats Microsoft's price.
Mm-hmm.
Take it for, mom and dad, Joe Gamer, whatever, walking into a store to get their new system. They're all the same to them. This is a new system. Which one are we going to get? The one that costs the cheapest.
Yeah.
But if yield issues are true, if supply issues turn out to be true, then you'll get the one that's on the shelf.
You'll get the one that, yeah.
Even if it was $100 more expensive. You might wait a little bit, but if the clerk behind the counter and if, your kid and if maybe somebody else that you know suggests that, no, this thing is not likely to come around anytime soon, there's a real scare that you won't get one before Christmas, that sort of thing, you'll find the one that's available. If it turns out that the one that's available is also the one that's cheaper, then I don't really know what to say. I don't expect Microsoft to have an easy time of it. I would very much like for them both to just be out so that we can move on to the next phase. We can evolve the discussion about what they really are. We can begin talking about software a little more. People can really start talking about the fact that the Xbox One is a weird and clunky and very strange machine. That every single thing that the machine is designed to do requires Xbox Live Gold. And a doofy little IR blaster, which just stymies me. I don't understand why nobody will talk about that. It requires a stupid little thing on a string that you glue to the front of your DVR or whatever. It's very silly. I don't know.
They really haven't gone into detail on that aspect. I mean, as much as we talk about
nobody's even asked about it.
What they're doing clarification for, it's very true. Well, we got Gamescom coming up this week, actually.
This coming week.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know
3 days.
Sony has some things to say. And I know Microsoft has a few things to say as well, but we don't know the focal point of what it is they're going to say. Are they going to talk about the games? Or are they going to talk about the system? Are they going to talk about the launch?
The rumor has it right now that Sony is going to announce launch day. That is the very, very strong rumor right now, is that they're going to announce launch, and that launch is going to be the last week of October, which is very good for them. Yeah. I mean, that's within a typical window. But Microsoft has already said November. That they didn't say which day. They didn't even say which part of November. They simply said, and we're doing November, right? We'll give you a date later. Sony didn't say anything like that. And the rumors right now, very strong, kind of semi-credible rumors, are pointing to October 21st or sometime in October. We can all cross our fingers that they're going to pull a Sega and give it to us in a month.
Right.
That's unlikely, but I would take it. Certainly, that would be really, really excellent. That would give them an opportunity to just, even again, in that case, even if yield issues, even if supply issues weren't real, if they were coming out 6 weeks before the Microsoft machine, that's 6 weeks to run roughshod over them in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm sure in their plan they're looking at their release schedule of the titles that they've got for the PS3, and they're like, look, we have to, because as we know, September shows Beyond Two Souls and GT6 for the PS3. None of these announced for the PS4. So
yet,
got to give those time to breathe. Yeah, I know. And we'll talk about Grand Theft Auto in a little bit too.
Yeah.
But they got to get those times to breathe and sell and make something, rather than people saying, well, I want that game, but I'm just going to get the PS4 because I got this much saved up or whatever. It's there now. I can get it. So you're likely not to see it in a month. But then again, who knows? Look at what Microsoft has done. There's plenty of things I could have told you that you're likely not to see this happen. You're likely not to see that. And then it gets changed. Or it gets clarified, like you said. And they haven't really talked about the TV aspect of the Xbox One. Matt in the chat room says, I hate to say it, but Nintendo has real problems. They only sold 160,000 worldwide last quarter.
Yeah. I always get a little bit queasy when it comes time to talk about Nintendo anymore, because the news is never good. And I don't... the very strong Nintendo fans just don't want to hear it. That's a thing that they just do not want to talk about. They don't want to hear about it. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And they're going to come along. They're going to release tons of great software. It's going to be great any minute. You're going to see, man, you'll see. And I'm not going to see, I don't think, because they have, fine. Look, I'll go ahead and grant that the Wii U is current gen tech. Right, I think there's a real argument to be had there, but it's a weird half step ahead of the last thing and behind the coming thing, but it's very expensive and it has no software, and that's really all that matters. That same amount of money plus a little bit more would buy you a PS4.
Which is going to have plenty of software coming out.
Which is ultimately going to have plenty of software. At launch, it isn't,
Yeah,
but
it's always
there is
scarce at
every
launch.
reason to believe it's going to have significant software. We already know that the Wii U doesn't have anything like enough third-party support, and in a strange turn, well, I maybe not too strange a turn, but it doesn't have enough first-party support either to make up for the fact that it doesn't have any third-party support. And that's not to slander them. That's not even to talk about how wacky I think the machine is, how I don't like its name. I don't like the way it's marketed. I'm not interested in its tablet controller. I love Nintendo for their IP.
Yes.
And that's hardly rare. I think that's the case for almost everyone. You can love them for their IP. If you don't have games to play on your system, and your games are the one reason that I show up to your system, then how are you ever going to convince me to spend that money? I don't refuse to own a Wii U because I think it's stupid or childish, or because I hate Nintendo or anything like that. I don't see any reason to own one. There's no software out there.
The
that
library isn't
justifies-
there for you.
No, but I mean,
And the money that you could be spending for that, you could go towards another system that actually has other things that you want to play.
right.
I know all of us here at one point or another, we've loved Mario. We've loved, Zelda, Metroid, all these games that we grew up with that we still hold, a special place in our heart. But at the same time, how many times do I just feel that why don't they just pull a Sega and just be like, all right, we're out of the console business and, you want to play Mario on Sony? Fine. All right, here you go.
That's a really popular thought. There's also a lot of people who don't think that would happen. There's a
And,
strong.
I
strong.
think Nintendo's saying that they don't want to do that.
I think
but
there's a strong contingent that believes that if Nintendo gets out of the hardware game, they're out of the software game as well. I think there's maybe something to be said for them taking a third option and getting out of the home console market and redoubling their efforts towards handhelds. I mean, the 3DS suffered a really terrible launch. It was overpriced. They slashed the
Within
the
the first
cost.
6 months, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
because it wasn't moving, and then they finally got the library moving on that. So as a system, its one gimmick doesn't seem to be the thing that's drawing anybody, the ability to do
that
stereoscopic 3D.
No.
But
When I play it, I
It's a
don't
good-
even turn it. I turn it off.
and I think that's probably really common. But it's a good system that has evidently a significant software library now, and it's selling and it's doing okay. It could be doing better, but it seems to be doing all right. And whatever, it's a very simple formula. You need hardware people are willing to buy and software they're willing to play on it. It
Yeah.
isn't complicated. I'm not saying it's easy, but it isn't complicated. And right now, the margin for error is very slim, and they have fallen into it completely. So yeah, they're not moving anything. They're moving handfuls, tiny handfuls of units
And it's
every
gonna,
quarter.
and it's going to get worse.
Right, because it begins to reinforce itself.
Yeah.
And it takes an awful long time to make a game. And they're very slow. They're kind of dopey and deliberate in their process, in their development. They are very, very, very slow about putting out their games. They don't churn. And that's admirable. That you're taking your most valuable properties and not churning with them, but somebody needs to be churning something. Somebody needs to be filling in the gaps. Somebody needs to be putting something out there, and that's where the relationship with the third parties comes in. And it's a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation because they have historically always released systems that I wanted to be a part of. And it is a terrible situation for people that are, huge fans of their stuff because they're not getting as much as they probably could. So.
And Daniel Out makes a point in the chat room that the issues with the Wii U are the development time and the cost, because with the PS3 and the 360 and, of course, their next-gen counterparts, similar enough to develop for, but when you throw the Wii U into it, it takes a little bit more time because it's like, hey, there's a separate thing that you have to develop for. And somehow incorporate into your game that you didn't on these other platforms. And so that's also
that was very much the case with the original Wii as well. Possibly even more so because of the nature of the difference between the Wii and the other two consoles.
Yeah.
But, and he's right, the only difference is the Wii had as a fad and as a promise, it had penetrated the market incredibly. It sold so many units that in most cases it was worth having development that was entirely separate from your mainline projects for the PC, the PS3.
Yeah, because you had so many systems out there that...
There were so many systems already in the market because they sold on that gimmick. The Wii U hasn't been able to do that. And the Wii was cheap. It was super cheap. It lied, but it promised something new. It was a half lie.
I know.
But it managed to get into homes. They made all the right decisions about it. And then it was very easy for a third-party developer to say, yeah, man, I'll make something for this system, obviously. You know, I can run the numbers. I can do simple math. I'm probably going to sell enough to justify my time there. But that's not the case on the Wii U. So,
But isn't the PS4 going to have a special integration with the Vita as well?
It will, but it's not entire. Well, no, it'll have crossplay with the Vita.
But in that, I mean, that's still extra coding. I'm assuming. And
not
no,
really.
No,
No,
it's not.
No.
No, there are options and there are directions they can take when coding specific games to take extra use of the Vita. But by default, all PS4 games will be remote play capable.
Okay. I thought
on the Vita.
For some reason, I just figured it'd be a little extra stuff that you had to put in there.
Well, when we first heard about it, we were curious about that, but
Yeah.
they clarified that no, it does a stream situation.
Right. Whatever API, whatever coding is necessary to do, a very basic level of that, an acceptable, a predetermined level of remote play with the Vita is there. But there are options for enhanced remote play. I guess this would maybe
it's
be
akin
the right
it's akin to like the NVIDIA Shield, where it'll stream whatever your card capable PC has. It'll stream it right to your right to the handheld, the Shield.
Okay.
As well as run its own software and its own games and stuff like that, Android-based games, I believe. But that's kind of like how the Vita integration will work for the PS4. And of course, rumor there that they're going to package a Vita with PS4s some point. Maybe have that option.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, that I'm looking forward. I want that to be true.
I know you do. I want it to be true as well because I think a lot of people would jump on
like
that who don't have a
everything
Vita.
that I mean, the Vita. To be fair, the Vita's in a hard place as well. It doesn't have the software moving along as quickly as it could. The hardware itself is luxurious. It's sexy. They make very, very sexy hardware. Handheld hardware has always been very good, but they just don't have the software support for it. That could be the right connection to make, to take that handheld. Please find a way to drop the price a little bit.
Yeah.
And find a way to attach it to the PS4 in a bundled purchase, because there's a very good reason to have one. And then you start seeing a pickup in software development and support for it.
How far of a drop are we talking about here?
What is the current retail price of a Vita? 250?
250.
Plus the nauseating and very annoying cost of the memory cards.
Yeah.
Which are specific and horrible. I know, but it should be calculated into the total
No,
cost.
it totally should. That's what I was saying.
So-
I was like, a lot of people, when we talk about Vitas, we always forget, wait a second, there's that memory card issue.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to have a memory card, and the 4 gig ain't going to cut it.
No,
No,
I have 2 8 gigs, and even those are full.
But as inconvenient, as terrible as that is, if we're willing to count both of those things together as some kind of total cost, then dropping the price of the Vita still alleviates the pain to some degree.
Yeah.
So if they knocked $50, $75 off of the Vita, if they could bring the Vita down under $200, that would be really good. If they could bring it down a whole lot more, I would definitely consider one. At the moment, it's
And then have the
It's not
the
for me.
3G version at $250.
maybe, I suppose.
Because
I
think
don't
right now
really
that's
know.
like $300.
Is it?
Yeah.
At a premium price regardless, wherever it is. But the Wi-Fi only version really needs to come down to something smaller. Just, again, you have to give people a reason to justify the purchase in the first place. Get the numbers up, and then people will start making software, and you can run away with it. But
I have, with the exception of the gold, the PlayStation Plus account and the games that they gave out for that, I only bought like 3 actual Vita games. The tennis, the Metal Gear Solid HD thing, and one of the Dynasty Warriors. But other than that, I've been mostly using it as a PlayStation, for my old PlayStation library.
So you're talking about the Vita?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you get PS Plus, you've got a library full of games.
Yeah.
you do.
on your Vita and on your PS3.
And they just keep on adding to it, which is nice.
I got a ton of I realize this. I have a ton of games on my Vita. I paid for one, I think. I paid for Need for Speed. I think I actually bought that, and then Assassin's Creed came with the system.
Okay.
The rest of the stuff has all been plus freebies that I've gotten, so it's a great little deal there. Anyway, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more of In-Game Chat. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Don't forget, you can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat. We are streaming live right now on Twitch TV. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook, ingamechat.net. We've got all the links that you need to get in touch with us socially and everything else. Music there from Halo 2. Daniel in the chat room, very happy to see that. So, yeah, good choice. Great music. Exactly. Did it for you, Daniel. There you go. Thanks for joining us in the chat room, by the way. Hope to see you next week and further as well. Anyway, welcome back to the show, and I don't know what else. We had the GTA Online announcement trailer thingy that hit this week that showed how the online portion of Grand Theft Auto really would work.
I don't think it did. I don't think that's what happened.
What do you think happened?
I don't know exactly what happened because I couldn't tell at different moments in that video whether they were talking about this is an actual multiplayer thing that's happening here, or this is how some level of the multiplayer is going to bleed into your single player. It really looked like I couldn't tell, right? My experience with GTA Online or whatever, playing against other people, is a bunch of. This is what I remember. I remember driving over a fire hydrant, and then like the pressure of the water flipped the car over. And then we all spent like 10 minutes walking through the water spewing up out of the sidewalk and like flipping over because the physics were hilarious, right? Because the ragdoll physics were all really hilarious. And then we drove around and crashed into stuff. And then we got in a helicopter and jumped out of that and then crashed into some other things. And that was pretty much it, right?
I had Kevin, he grabbed a helicopter and I was walking and he actually like hit me with the blade and just like flung me across the map.
Well, that's brilliant, but that's very much in line with what my brain expects from Grand Theft Auto multiplayer. And so their explanation, such as it was, about what it was going to be, like it didn't work in my brain. At moments, I was like, am I watching like another single player video, or is this kind of thing actually going to happen in the multiplayer? I don't understand. And to what degree is it kind of affecting the online version of my time in GTA versus my single player stuff? I really expect those two things to be fairly well integrated at some level, and I just don't think they really stitched them together. But I got the sense that they really were. I don't know. It just didn't feel like here's a bunch of ways to shoot each other. Clearly, this is GTA Online. I can't think of anything else to do except shoot each other in GTA Online. So I mean, there's racing and stuff, but it's just another way to shoot each other. That's all anybody's going to really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, or jet ski and shoot one another, or helicopter and airplane and shoot one another, you know?
But all just boils down to shooting one another.
In my mind it does, and so I didn't understand completely what they were trying to offer. What was super crazy interesting is that the online portion is not shipping with the game.
Right.
You saw that, yeah?
2 weeks later.
Yeah, it's a standalone. Well, it is a separate patch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a separate content update.
Yeah, it was interesting the way they worded that was like this will be free with GTA 5. which leads to the sense of this will not be free if you don't buy GTA 5. You will have to purchase this separately, some
Or
kind
you could
of...
say you'll have the ability to purchase it separately.
True. What? So you rent GTA 5 or you buy used GTA 5 and then there's a code to download the thing separately if you pay like $10 or something like
Or if
that?
you're just not interested in buying GTA 5 for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You could still buy the online, right?
Maybe.
Is that a possibility?
Well, it's a possibility. I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay.
I don't think that's what they're doing. I don't get the impression that GTA Online is a separate video game from GTA 5.
Okay.
I mean, it's certainly possible. People do that sort of things all the time. They do expand-alone type of stuff all the time. But I got the distinct impression it's just the multiplayer portion of GTA 5. And, if you're interested or whatever, you can't just play it in the first 2 weeks. Do that and then trade it in. You got to hold on to it for more than a hot minute.
Yeah. The other interesting part was that they said that they planned on to continually support GTA Online throughout months and whatever year
Its lifespan.
Yeah, the lifespan
Whatever that
of
turns out to be.
whatever that is, which led a lot of people to speculate. And again, what are we here to do for the most part? But led a lot of people to speculate that, hey, maybe we'll get some next-gen versions of this GTA 5 thing that they haven't announced yet.
That would be nice.
Well, I'd like a current-gen version on the PC.
Yeah.
That's what
which they still haven't talked about. And if they're really going to be supporting the online portion of the game, on the two platforms we know that it's coming out on, we're just going to assume it's released on the PC. But on the two platforms it's already out on, then that's great, and I'm assuming those things are going to be ready to go at the same time. But I'd like to know how all of this is coming along for the PC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're obviously not getting the same release day, is the support going to be oddly kind of staggered on the PC? Is this long-term support going to be monthly or quarterly or something like that? And where are we going to be at with that in half a year when they decide to put it out on the PC, if they decide to put it out on the PC?
Yeah. I mean, up and before Red Dead Redemption, I would have just taken it for granted that,
Different
yes,
teams.
it will.
No, different teams.
Yeah.
Different teams. I'm not going to quote it right now because I don't have the details in front of me. But when people talk about Red Dead not coming on PC, but GTA doing it, and so now they've completely changed their disposition, that's not true. It's the product of very specific teams always winds up on the PC in one way or another. And then the others it does not. So maybe, if I'm going to make a further assumption, we will see an early next gen, like a 2014 next generation GTA 5, and they're going to align the PC release with that. The PC is always a next gen console, so
Yeah.
maybe that would be the correct relationship. PS4, Xbox One, PC, and all three of those can come out. And that would be a little bit of a salve, because I could say, then, no, okay, this definitely makes sense. This isn't just mistreatment of the PC market for whatever reason, when it takes you half a year to get your product out on this platform. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I hate that it takes half a year. I wish it was, obviously wish it was sooner than that, but because that's where I want to play. That's where I want my GTA is on my PC currently right now. That's where I want to, but I need more details of the online aspect of this thing to see where, if that's something that I'm interested in, number one, and if it is, where's everybody else that I want to play with? Where are they going to be?
Yeah.
And that's
because that's a bbig factor in where you're going to do it. Is where your peeps are.
Do you care that much about it, though?
like I said, I got to see.
I mean,
more.
But personally, do you really care about it? If we're really talking about the middle of September for GTA 5, the end of October for the PS4, and sometime probably middle November for the Xbox One, and the small flood of titles that'll be coming out for those things. What does GTA 5 what does GTA Online do for me? I'm honestly not. I don't know. Maybe I'm odd. I just played GTA for the things that it offers, for the story, whatever that may be, as good or bad as that may be. But I like the gameplay enough to spend a few weeks with it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I've spent my few weeks with it, I've got other things to do. You know, maybe it matters to people who don't buy that many games. There probably are people who are forestalling a next generation purchase until next year because they feel like they've got enough current gen stuff that'll satisfy them. And GTA probably figures pretty heavily into that. But I don't know. My entire outlook on the game, and I am looking forward to it, but my whole outlook is 2-3 weeks, then I'm done. Then it goes away. I have no interest in it past that. Because there are, again, other things. There are lots and lots of other things. It's not being released in a vacuum. If it had come out in June or July or even May or something like that, then maybe I could have considered putting in a lot more time with it. But even then, there's plenty of competition for my time. So I don't know. I've never felt like I needed online play out of my GTA, so I don't find myself particularly excited that they're offering it finally.
Well, I don't lean either way on the online thing. Obviously, I'm looking forward to GTA 5. You're looking forward to it as well. Going to get your time out of it. You're exactly right, though. Probably in any other year, and if I can look at this year, if I can look at the remaining months following its release, and eliminate the fact that 2 new consoles are going to be releasing with their titles and everything else. Even if I could eliminate that fact, I'd still have plenty to play on my current gen systems. There's plenty coming out in those few months that would divert me away from from playing GTA 5. But it's still the same though. It's still the same with the new systems that are releasing anyway. So I'll get my time with it and play it. They got to show me more of the online thing as far as like exactly more than the 5 minutes of the stitched together video that they showed to see if like, hey, that actually looks interesting. That actually looks like something I want to get into. I'll devote some time after that release, after the release of the online portion to play some of that and get some time in it. Before, of course, I get in there, and if it happens like it does with any of these kind of online things, I get my fill of it for maybe 2 days, maybe not, depends. I got Payday 2 and I really want to play it, but I haven't touched it yet because I can't find the people to play with that I want to play with. And I'm not going to go in there just by myself and roughshod it around. I want to play with friends. I want to play with people I know. So it could end up in a situation like that where it just doesn't get touched. So who knows? But that's my idea of it. So anyway, I know NVIDIA mentioned something about a PC release for that, but they recanted on that. They had a mistake, and Stufu had brought it up in the chat room, but they came back and said, yeah, that was our mistake. We did not intend to include that into the release of all these other games. So could it have been a slip-up? Who knows? That they retracted on? We'll
Telling the
find
truth
out.
is often considered a slip-up.
It is,
in the
isn't it?
video games industry. Revealing the truth, I guess I should say, is a slip-up.
So says Bethesda. I don't even know if I want to go into I need a flow chart with what's going on with Prey 2.
Yeah.
Who's doing it?
No.
Arcane, right?
Arcane.
Arcane.
Arcane out of Austin, not Arcane out of...
Because they now have 2 studios.
Right, they do. One of them is working on the follow-up to...
Dishonored.
They're working out of... Where are they at? Somewhere French.
Okay.
Like an actual Francy place. I don't know, Lyon or something like that. I don't know. Somebody find me a name of a French town and we'll decide that's where it is. But they're working on the follow-up to Dishonored. And they have a second studio in Austin and are supposedly working on whatever it is that the Prey 2 license became after it sort of fell apart in that short-lived but very exciting promise for the sequel.
trailer that they released.
Well, and there was some, and we did get some gameplay.
There was some
but
gameplay
that's
out
been
of it too, yeah.
That's been a couple of years.
But
or
as
more
far as
now.
I know, I think all of that has just been, clear it off the table.
I don't know. We're not working on that. Nobody's
start
working on that. What are you talking about? What's
Yeah.
a Prey 2? I don't know what that is. Nobody's heard of that.
Yeah. So anyway, that happened this week as well.
But
So-
the ownership, I mean, to be fair, right? I mean, I really revile the lack of information in the video games industry, but to be fair, it is an extremely complicated matter. The ownership of property, development, distribution, publication, all of that is very, very, very complicated. And when you've got when you've got a piece of material that was one person's intellectual property and was developed under a relationship with this particular developer that was owned in part, or at least it had a strong relationship with this other publisher, and then some element of that is obliterated, it can be very difficult to define what exactly those rights are, who exactly has ownership, what its value is. It can take time.
That's why System Shock 2 is lost for a good long time,
Right.
correct?
Well, and that's just I believe the distribution rights. The rights to do anything else with it are still, I believe,
Scattered
gone.
across the four corners
Right.
of the earth.
Yeah, there's no way to reunite it with anybody that has the rights to distribute in any newer version of the game. So it's very, very complicated. And I think that's where Prey 2 is right now. And, playing devil's advocate in this case, it's like, yes, look, I understand you're in the games media and you like to get upset when you find out that people lied to you, but maybe they just didn't want to talk about it because they talked about it before. They got everybody hyped up about it before. A lot of promises were made before. And it turns out that because of things that are beyond anyone's control, the game disappeared. People were really upset. They had to change an awful lot of plans, and it damaged the notion of the brand. It puts it in a position where it's can be compared to something like Duke Nukem, or to the previous version of the game. Like Prey 1 took what, like 8 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
Something like that to come out. You don't want to do that because it causes harm to the brand. It causes harm to your name. Just avoid it by saying nothing, which is sort of what they were trying to do.
But people keep on pressing it.
Well, they keep on pressing it, and then their reaction to the fact that they've been lied to or that they've been denied certain kinds of information, that is a very special kind of childish anger that is I believe can only be displayed by video games press. Just a very, very special thing. And I don't know. I understand. Your job is to take information from what you believe to be the exclusive corridors of power and influence in the video games industry and mete it out to the various plebs who just want to follow the news and know what's going on with their favorite properties. And so when you've been lied to, you look like what you are, which is just some guy with a blog. And so you get upset. And I do understand that because what are you if you look like some guy with a blog, right? You're just like the rest of us. So it's fine. I've gotten used to them lying to me for a very long time. Everything they say to me is a lie.
We've had episodes that deal with this.
Maybe if you just got comfortable and assumed that they were never in a position to tell you the honest truth, then that's perfectly fine. And then break the news that it's a lie. I don't particularly care. Just don't feel a way about it, Don't get self-righteous about it. And that's sort of what a lot of it was. Just recognize that it's always going to be a lie. Sometimes there's a really good reason for the lie. A lot of times there isn't a really good reason for the lie. And what are you going to do? We got too many games to play as it is.
Yeah.
So I wish one of them was Prey 2, but we've got too much else to deal with at the moment anyway.
Calgar says the easy solution to this, just change the name of Prey to something else, and then, hey, look, it's a brand new IP.
Yeah.
Space Bounty Hunter. Yay.
I mean, maybe. I kind of liked Prey.
I like Prey
Yeah.
as well.
I kind of liked... I liked
although
the concept
although
of...
from what we saw from 2, didn't seem to hold any kind
a
of...
lot with 1.
Yeah, it didn't seem to carry over much from 1. that
No,
I
just the
remember,
whole world. Just the entire fictional backdrop of the game. That's all. It didn't have the main character. It wasn't the same story. It wasn't about the reaping of Earth or anything like that. It was about the aftermath of that and a person who survived through it. In the same environment, thanks to the people who were responsible for the events of the first game. I liked that. It's the perfect way to make a sequel, in my opinion, because it's not regurgitation. It isn't just a second showing or an act 2, or just slapping all the same garbage from the first game into a better engine, shoving it out the door and asking for $60. It was the right kind of creativity when borrowing from something that looked like a dead end. It was excellent. I wanted to play around in the concept of that world a lot more. It's a little bit, it was like Titan AE or something like that, right? You're playing as a human who is fills a prominent role in a fairly vast universe populated by
Almost
others.
exclusively non-humans.
Almost
yeah.
exclusively non-humans, which actually puts you in a really good position to deal with, in the very subtle way, which is the only way you can deal with complex social issues effectively with gamers, right? Not by slapping them in the face with it, but by giving them something that they enjoy. I like, rootin' tootin' space cowboy stuff, and I want to be like this guy with guns and technology and being a bounty hunter, and it's all really cool. And at the same time, I get to think about how everyone else in the entire universe
Is not like
me.
Yeah.
Get to deal with minority issues and issues of bigotry and social strata and things like that. And to get even broader, that's one of the reasons that I like video games, I like science fiction, because these things can put you everywhere. They can give you access to any sort of social commentary and any kind of discussion that you could hope to have. And that's all just a really, really obtuse way of saying I think that world was perfectly suited to do it, right? Because just generic space bounty hunter, right, not taking anything at all from that prey world, doesn't necessarily give you those things. You could craft them, obviously. You could certainly craft them. But instead of having to spend so much effort explaining why the world is this really weird thing, you could just point at the other game. Because prey. Because of the thing with the Indian guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
Or the ship that felt dirty walking through.
I know. Look, I'm just saying, if for no other reason, you should play like the first hour of that game.
Yeah.
Right? Because Don't Fear the Reaper and walking through the guts of an alien ship listening to Art Bell and Coast to Coast AM, was brilliant. The rest of it left a lot to be desired, certainly, but it certainly was better than people knock it for. I don't know, whatever. I'm just glad we're still getting it. I'm glad somebody somewhere is still working on it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's coming out of a studio that's done something
I was going to
decent.
say, and Arcane,
not like
not
Bob's
bad.
studio.
Yeah. Not bad at all. Not running a Kickstarter campaign to get it going or anything like that. Not to knock anything that's running off a Kickstarter campaign. Don't get me wrong on that. It's just that, it's a studio. We got the money to do this, and so they're going to be working on that. So good thing for them to be doing that. But
speaking of Kickstarter, real quick, I was looking at the guys in charge of that did Police Quest back in the day for Sierra.
Mhm.
They had a Kickstarter going on.
they had one.
Did they have a Kickstarter, really? Did they do that?
Yeah.
But then they had to cancel it.
I was making fun of Matt.
Oh.
Welcome back, Matt.
Did you guys talk about that already?
No, actually, we didn't.
Okay,
I don't think.
I've
No.
been gone.
Actually, we did.
Did we?
I think.
I
We,
can't
we
remember.
mentioned it. We didn't talk about it at length.
Yeah.
It's sort of sad that they didn't meet their goal.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been gone for a little bit, so I'm trying to play catch up.
Yeah. So now they're doing it from
You
their.
can do that by listening to the show when you're not here. Some
I
of us
need
do
to.
that.
I was too busy studying in classwork.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. I don't know what you were doing, but that is not what you were doing.
Anyway, we'll find out what he's been doing in the next hour. We'll talk about some of the games we played. We've got emails to go over as well. It's been kind of plenty of games played this type of week that we've had here. I've dumped into 2 games, I think. Oh, no, I can't really count Payday enough. Played around with it, but I didn't get actual multiplayer time or really what the meat of that game is. So a couple of games here. I know that Jeremy's played some. RJ, we'll check in with him, see what he's been doing. Matt, we'll see what you've been doing in the weeks you've been gone and if you played anything. And, of course, James has played some stuff as well. And we'll be talking about that in the second hour of In-Game Chat. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music from Homeworld. And appreciate John 1019 for sending that in to us. In fact, John provided the In-Game Chat logo up there. Provides all of our logos that we've used on Twitch and on YouTube and on ingamechat.net, Facebook, everywhere else. If you see our logo, John did that for us. So we really appreciate him sending that in to us and doing that for us. Thank you very much. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Talking about some games that we played. Let's see. Started Monday with DuckTales. I played a little bit of that. That was released on Tuesday, and I got into it a little bit on Monday. Did like a 2-hour stream of it on our Twitch channel. Very strange thing with that game. If you happen to pick it up, I was having the issue, and apparently everybody else is having the issue. If you got 2 monitors running, that game wants to open up on your secondary monitor. There's no way that you can get it to not open up there. You can move it once it's opened, but for whatever reason, it wants to open on your secondary
Can you move
monitor.
it if it's full screened? You can't do that, can you?
No, but you can Alt-Enter and window it and move it over.
And then move it over?
Mm-hmm.
That's odd.
And as far as I know, I mean, obviously you can probably, change something in the execute file to open it windowed, but there is no option for it to open window. There's also no music volume option.
No.
Yeah, that was more than a small problem for you.
Yes, it was. It was coming over loud.
It was
over the stream.
extremely loud.
And we couldn't figure out how to fix that. But it has no options for music or sound effects or any of that stuff. There's not a lot of options in it for the PC.
No.
Anti-aliasing and then screen resolution. That's about all you get out of it, I believe. And that's about it for it. So, yeah, that took some time to figure out. But once we did, I got into it, started playing it. It's, difficult from what I remembered. I don't remember much of that. I do remember beating it from a long time ago, whenever that game was released. But anyway, it's still fun. I've been trying to go through it on hard mode. And so far, today, I finally finished the last 2 levels in hard mode that got me to whatever, that very final level that you have to go through. Mount Vesuvius, I believe, is what it is that you have to go through. So I don't remember that from the game when I originally played it, but there's not much I remember. Every now and again, some things will come back to me.
I just remember the moon from like way back in the day.
Yeah, I think everybody remembers the moon.
Yeah.
But
All right, first off, when did this game come out? No, the first time.
Tuesday.
No. The first time.
I said no, not the first time. I don't know, 90 maybe? 89?
What was I doing?
90?
I never played this game.
Same here.
I pretty much didn't even know about its existence.
I knew about it because I looked at it in Nintendo Power when I was a kid, but I never played it.
September 89.
September of 89 is when it got.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it was in the 80s, but yeah.
No,
September.
I remember it. Yeah, I played it. I mean, I didn't have an NES back in the day. I had to go over to a friend's house and stuff and play it. So
I had one. I just didn't. I didn't know about it. I mean, you're just saying like pretty much everybody remembers this thing, and I'm like, until recently, I was like, there was a DuckTales game. What did you do?
You did the same stuff you're doing in this
No. I
one,
mean,
obviously,
I've seen the current. I'm explaining to you my train of thought about like when there was a duck, because when I first learned that there was one in my head, right, this spark of like imagination that I had prior to actually learning the facts of the game, I wanted like a Paper Mario style game. I wanted some sort of quasi RPG style thing
Set
that
in
was
the
all
DuckTales
that
universe?
was all like character based and like with RPG trappings of like loot and leveling and exploration and loot finding, because like that to me that was kind of what it like what the show was. I would really still actually
I remember
kill for
very
that.
specifically when I was a kid and I was looking at it in the Nintendo Power magazine, looking at it, I was like, what is this? This doesn't seem anything like DuckTales. He's bouncing on his cane,
Right,
and what's all
right.
this stuff that he's getting, and what are these other things, and where are the nephews? Where's the Beagle Boys? Where's Launchpad McQuack? And
Right.
also,
I mean, they're in
color,
it. They are
their color scheme was completely different too.
yeah.
In the first game, he wore a red coat. For some reason, he was just red, and everybody, I think the Beagle Boys looked completely different as far as the color of what they looked like
Yeah.
in the game itself. There were some odd choices, but at that age, I wasn't really like,
Well, see, by then I had already played so many bad licensed games that were, nothing like what I thought they should have been. That I was already ready to immediately write it off. Didn't find out till years later that it was actually a really good game.
yeah, no, I was hooked on that. I had that and the Rescue Rangers one that came out after it, or right around the same time. The Tiny Toons one was also well done as far as from what I can remember. And then there was Castle of Illusion that RJ played as well, but I think that was on Sega originally.
Sega Genesis.
Sega Genesis, yeah, which I didn't get into. There was some other Mickey game, though, that was for the NES, and I can't remember what it was, but it was difficult and I didn't like it.
I played that. And I concur with your opinion.
I can't remember what it was, but I did
can't
not
either.
like it. And but I was good with the DuckTales thing. So I'm playing through it now. Obviously it's bright, colorful, looks like the cartoon itself, just really beautiful that way. But
And I love that they got the voices back.
could hear some age in those voices. You should be able
definitely.
to. I mean, my God.
It's,
Although I will say that Scrooge's voice has grown on me playing it as much as I have. The first time I heard it, after all those many years, the first time I heard it in my headphones, because I was doing the stream and you could really hear it, the clarity was real good. Yeah, you could hear, I was like, wow, he sounds really old on this. And I mean, he does, he's 90 years old, but the more I heard it, the more that went away. And the only person that comes across as being, whoa, is the lady who voices Magic at Dispel.
oh, really? I haven't gotten that far yet.
When you hear her talk, there's definitely some. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that she was able to do this. But I mean, I'm glad that they got everybody that got. Everybody else sounds exactly like what they sounded like from the original cartoon. There are some parts of it that on your first playthrough are not an issue, but they will be on your second playthrough, or if you die a lot, which on hard mode I do. Cutscenes. They added a lot of cutscenes. They had a lot of cutscenes and stuff. They were bringing in the voice actors, so they kind of expanded a lot of the levels. I don't think they added too much to them, but they expanded them by putting in cutscenes where there's a lot more there's a lot more dialogue for Scrooge and whoever he's interacting with. And those are great. That's fine. But you can choose to skip them, but you can't like speed through them. I can't press the A button and have the text pop up there faster so I can read what's going on and get to the next thing. You have to sit there and watch them. For the first time through, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
For the fifth or sixth time through, I'm skipping every single cutscene that I've already seen previously and don't care about. So there's that issue with it. And yes, the humor is still 8-year-old you from 1987, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the difficulty. I don't have a problem with the cutscenes because they do allow you to skip them, and that's great. I'm glad that you do. I don't have a problem with, my gripes are, give me more options with the music volume, and don't have it open up on my second monitor. Those are my two biggest complaints. I haven't beat it yet, but not that I need
Ghost Bear
to.
said that he fixed that by editing his INI file.
Yeah, and like I said, you can probably do that. And
As any good PC gamer knows you should do.
yes, do you consider that to be me?
No.
Exactly. Come on. But anyway, yeah. So I heard a lot of gripes that this was a misstep for WayForward and that they didn't really get it. The reviews that I've seen aren't that great for it.
I'm really enjoying it.
But I like it as well. So you're enjoying it all of the 15 minutes that you've played it.
True.
Yeah.
I've beat the Amazon.
The leaderboards on there show me what the playtime is for everybody. And
Well, I have it both on Steam and PSN.
oh, you
So-
picked it up on both. Why both?
Well, I'd originally pre-ordered it on the PlayStation a while back ago, and then when I saw you playing it, I'm like, I really want to play this, and I didn't want to have to wait, and so I picked it up on Steam.
Was it not? Is it not available? I don't understand.
I didn't have my PlayStation with me at the time.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. All right, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Wow, so you got two of them. Good job.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I played that, and then the next day I started playing Papers, Please, which I think all of us in here played except for Matt and RJ. So you guys watched me stream that and not really knowing what I was doing when I was streaming it. Did my first playthrough kind of go the same way your guys' first playthrough was?
Close
trying
enough.
to figure
Yeah.
that stuff
Yeah.
out? Okay.
Very much.
Sometimes I feel extra stupid. That's all.
Yeah.
No argument there, huh?
Sometimes you are extra stupid, but so are we all at any particular point in time. I don't. Whatever. Set that aside. That's not the kind of game you should know anything about before you go into it. I don't. I think that honestly, you are best served if you have never even seen the game. Not a picture, not a screenshot, not a stream, not a video, not anything. Just put somebody down in front of it as if it were some sort of behavioral experiment and just be like, here, do this.
Mm-hmm.
No, just do it. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Just do it. Play this, pick it up in context. It is absolutely designed. It is not punishing at all. It's difficult, but the failure states are actually kind of desirable in certain ways. There's a lot of experimentation you can do because any particular failure isn't going to set you back very far. You will always, it is played in different rounds day by day. And if you fail, you can always go back to that day. Additionally, if you pass the day, but you aren't especially happy with the circumstances of your passing that day, you can go back and you will notice that there is some degree of branching progress. So you can say, like I got through this day and I made this decision and this decision regarding certain individuals that came through my immigration checkpoint. I made such and such a decision about bribes or money, but I wasn't very happy with what I did at the end. I could have been faster. I could have profited a bit better. I could have suffered a bit less. So I'm going to go back to it, check that save out, and you'll see that it offers, another successful run will offer a branch to another path. And you can say, maybe I like this better. Maybe I want to go with the other one. It's kind of empowering. There's plenty of options to do what you do, but it is a difficult game to play. It requires being able to hold a lot of information in your head at one point in time, to be able to scan things and make decisions in your own head about should I be moving faster or should I be paying more attention?
When I was trying to explain this in the most bare bones way I could think, I was like, you remember memory? Just instead of doing one card per turn, you had to do like 5 or 6.
And your life depends on it.
You 5 or 6 turns, and then you get 5 or 6 more turns to flip those over, and then you have to remember where all those were and just remember all this other stuff. So yeah, it is somewhat of a memorization sort of thing. It's comparing, but it's like a laundry list of things, like check this when you have this person. I mean, when you first start out, you're good. I mean, there's a couple of things you have to check. And then the next day, there's a couple of more things on top of it you have to check. And then it just kind of builds from there. I have only gotten to the part where...
Which day, roughly?
I'd have to go back and look. It's the day that they add workers. That, hey, they're coming into work.
Mm-hmm.
And so once that's initiated, that's the day I die. Or that's the day I fail.
You go to prison.
Yeah, that's the day I go to prison, is when they initiate saying, hey, now people are going to come in and start working, and they need to have this work pass. Mm-hmm. So whenever that gets added, I haven't gotten further than that day.
I don't know. Have we jumped too far ahead, RG? Have you seen this game at all?
I think I watched a YouTube video of it. Basically just, like you said, checking papers, deductive reasoning, checking this, checking that, memorizing everything else, and seeing how consistently you can do that without messing up. Because I saw some failure videos of people getting shot and things blowing up, and all because you let the fat lady go through with the gun strapped to her back.
Now, things blowing up is not necessarily a sign of failure.
Usually.
Not necessarily in this case. You can serve the glorious nation of Arstotzka perfectly well, and things can still blow up, and that's not your fault. Usually. Regardless, I think the way that they escalate the complexity day by day is perfect. I think it is pitch perfect. It is tuned to an excellent excellent degree. I really, really like it. Because just at the end of the day, you feel like you've mastered the concept that you began at the beginning of that turn. You've got the idea now. Now I have to check region versus passport versus entry certificate versus work thing. I have to compare the passport's individual, alphanumeric identifier, and I have to check the picture, and I have to check the gender of the entrant, and I have to know that people from this particular place, because they blew something up yesterday, have to do a full body scan, and I have to do all of this stuff. And okay, I've got that. I've got it in my head. I can do that. I can get through the whole day doing that. And then tomorrow, there's one more thing. It's a complicated piece of juggling, and every day someone throws a new ball into the mix.
And the pressure comes in because every day only lasts a certain period of time.
My God, is it quick?
Time. Yeah, it goes pretty quick. And you get your character gets paid based on how many he correctly processes. So the pressure is on to process as many as you can, but correctly. Because if you let somebody through or don't let them through and you miss something, you don't get paid for that person.
Boy,
and if you do it more than a couple of times, then they start deducting it from your pay.
That error that pops up when you do that is Pavlovian to making me swear up a storm. As soon as I hear that, I'm like,
there's about 5 seconds between when you send somebody away, throw their papers back at them and say, get out of here, or stamp it approved, give them their papers back and they leave. There's about a 5-second window.
You're just sweating bullets
before it calculates whether or not you get a citation, and you're just waiting, like, because there are sometimes I'm moving a bit too quick here.
Oh, even when I let him through, I'm like,
oh man, I forgot to. Oh my God, I forgot to check his height, or I forgot to check his weight, or I forgot to check this other thing. Please be as tall as your thing said you were.
Yep.
There's something you know that something is wrong, and like you're just kind of waiting for a minute, and then they make it past the little part on the checkpoint one way or the other, and you're like, all right, I'm okay. But by that point, you're already busy with the next guy.
And there's a lot of pressure to not screw up, because in the glorious nation of Arstotzka, you don't really make a lot of money, but you've got to pay your rent, you've got to pay food for a family of 4. You've got to
heat the apartment.
And if one day you can't afford to do those things, some of your family might get sick, and then you've got to buy them medicine. And if they don't get their medicine, they might die. And
you've never got enough money in any particular day to pay for all of those things. So you have to make decisions. You always have to pay for rent, but look, do you want to be cold or hungry? Yeah. Show of hands. Who wants to be cold? Who wants to be hungry? All right, tonight we're hungry.
Because the day you can't afford your rent is the day they carry you off to jail.
Exactly.
So, I'm not even going to ask that question. I'll just find out for myself. I was going to ask, do they have anything wrong with people dying? But you don't have to answer that. Hopefully I'll get to the point where somebody dies. I haven't gotten that far.
Everything should be discovered in context.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, I wasn't going to ask that. But like I said,
then there's also the more complicated decisions, like when somebody comes up to you and offers you a bribe, and you're like, do I want to let this guy through? Well, sometimes, I haven't screwed up yet. I'll actually get more money for taking the bribe and letting him through.
I won't get $5 for processing him correctly, but I'll get $10 for taking the bribe.
Right.
But again, the story is good enough. The game is smart enough to understand that maybe that guy does a certain thing. Maybe he influences the nature of what things are doing in Arstotzka. There is the further true complication of someone begging for help. Someone
there's a guy
running from an assassin or an abuser
that is going to kill me or something of that nature. Can you please not let him through? But then that's $5 that you don't.
They're not offering to help you. They don't give you any sort of compensation. A husband has all of his papers in order, but his wife directly behind him in line doesn't. What do you do?
That guy going through may be the difference between
your family eating
or dying.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it never gets too heavy. Obviously, they leave it up to you to make the decisions for yourself, to realize, I got to feed my people. But it is always riding the perfect line of black comedy. It is never overbearing. It is never, because this is a ridiculous, fictional 1982, and fictional nations involved in this particular border dispute. But it allows you to think about things without it being, an education or a sermon or anything like that. It's merely like, yes, that's very nice. Thank you very much. Make no trouble.
I was gonna say because like what little I've seen, it looks like it would be back on my Apple IIc that I had back in the day.
Yeah,
and that alone just kind of intrigues me.
I know that it does, but it's a good game regardless. It's an excellent game, as a matter of fact. $10, extraordinarily well spent.
Okay.
It is, and I will say again, Lucas Pope, the developer of it, I want to say used to work at Naughty Dog. He has a game on the iPhone called Helsing's Fire, which is also great for an iPhone game. So if you have an iPhone, look it up and play it. I know Lavos in the chat room wants to know if we have any starving simulator games that we could recommend.
Because this sounds like so much fun.
This sounds great.
I know. Stop it, but it is. It's brilliant.
I understand that. Again, Lavos, go.
This is why you shouldn't even listen to what we're saying. This is
Yeah.
why you shouldn't look at any videos of it, because there is no reason to believe this thing is actually this much fun. But it is stupidly compelling.
I would say that anybody who does watch the watches any of the video, including the ones that we've done, would probably look at that and say, "Yeah, I don't know that I want to do that." But until you put yourself in front of it and actually go through it and do it, it's you won't get that hook that it likes to plant into you. And every time I finish, like, I didn't get as far the second time on my second playthrough as I did. I was going to tell you that the first time I played it with you guys watching was when I got all the way to the point where you cannot let these certain people in at all. If they're from this country, you gotta whatever it was, you just can't let them in. The second playthrough that I did last night, I didn't get any further, but I did feel like I was doing it better than I felt.
You did like a whole new game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just clicked on. I was like, let's do the story. I'm going to click on new. I clicked
You
on.
replayed the stuff you already played?
Yeah.
You cheated?
I didn't know that was cheating. I was just like, I'm going to start a new
That's
game.
cheating.
Oh. So.
Because nothing of what you did, you haven't played the whole game through. Nothing of what you did in your second playthrough was hard. You had all the information. You're a cheater.
So when
you probably well-fed, warm, and not sick. And
No.
the point is, no, don't lie to me. The point is to be riding the razor's edge and not ever knowing if you're making the right decisions, at least one time through.
But I didn't even make it through. I didn't even make it as far as I did the first time I played it on my second go round. I didn't even make it.
Are you
as far.
stupid?
Yeah, I am. But what I did
That's
do.
not fair. You still cheated.
Well,
just because you cheated bad, just because you didn't do any better when you cheated, doesn't mean that you didn't.
I did check out what easy mode was. I clicked on that, and it's like, oh, you get $20 every day
What?
that you play.
What?
I didn't play that. I just clicked on it to see what easy mode does.
No, you can't do that.
No,
you can't do.
What
that.
is endless? Has anybody tried endless?
No. I haven't.
Obviously, I mean, I don't know what the name means. It's just like, here, we're going to keep giving you people, but is there a fail state of that? I don't know. I haven't tried endless.
I think it's just. I think it's horde mode. I think it's like horde mode for Papers, Please. You just go until you can't go anymore. There's like no story. They just keep throwing extra complexity at you.
Very possibly.
I bet that's what it is.
I'll have to try it out. So then what I need to do is, when I go to play it again, and it gives me those days to pick from, what do I do?
Just cheat. Who cares anymore? You've already ruined the entire
No,
experience.
I'd like to know.
Just start on the last day you.
Just start
you
on the
failed
most
on.
recent day.
Okay.
Because you can always go back to whichever other day. I spent like 10 minutes talking about that. You can always, no matter how bad that particular day was, you can start over that day and do it much better.
Okay.
I that is fine. But like starting the whole thing over, that's no. That's not in the spirit of the glorious nation of Arstotzka.
But not knowing anything else about this game, I'm trying to defend myself here. This is more for your entertainment watching and listening than it is for anything else.
Right.
Not knowing anything else about this game, I was still under not really the impression, but I still had that that habit of like, hey, let's start a new game.
Mm-hmm.
My first time through, I didn't know what I was doing. Let's just start new on this. Wasn't really aware that, yeah, you can start it this day and continue from there type of thing. I really wasn't sure how any of that worked. If I started from this day, then I've already got a sick kid and everything's, people are cold and I can barely make rent and that sort of stuff.
Arstotzka. Everyone's always cold and sick and hungry. That's the point.
Well, anyway, it's a great game. You guys should check it out. It is Papers, Please. It is on Steam. In fact, I think there's like a beta version you can download for free.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, actually. You
Yeah.
just can't go past, I think, day 8.
Yeah.
And endless mode is not available.
Good luck even getting to day 8. So anyway, from a guy who can barely do that. When we come back, we'll have more in-game chat. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Talking about the games that we played, and Matt, in fact, just bought Papers, Please from, I guess, the Steam app or whatever on his
Steam app
on his iPad there. So somebody else to give glory to Arstotzka, which I did pretty good with that name, by the way.
You did.
I thought I did great. Anyway, little bit of praise in the stupidity that I had. Looking at the emails real quick, Daniel Phelps sends us an email saying that he found his NES and his SNES, the cables and the games. He hooked them up, and they still worked 20 years on.
Hooray.
Says his PS3 didn't last 2 years before it needed a repair. He would like to know if we think this hardware generation will be plagued with the same hardware failures as the previous one.
That's really hard to say, isn't it?
No.
You don't think so?
No, they suffered greatly and publicly because of the hardware failures of this generation. They were able to beat some of the losses that they suffered, but they suffered immensely. I mean, Microsoft was in the position where if it hadn't have wound up spending the money that it did, it took $2 billion or something to dig themselves out of the Red Ring fiasco. If they hadn't actually spent that kind of money to do it, then they would have been in huge trouble. They probably wouldn't have been able to go on and sell as many units as they did in the second half of the lifespan. I should also point out that, again, referencing rumors and leakers and whistleblowers, whatever you want to call them, there were people who, we can look back now and corroborate this, and they were saying, like, this machine is going to have problems because this machine made very, very specific decisions, right? And the Red Ring wasn't just specifically the Red Ring wasn't because of incompetence exactly. There were actual market things that led to the failure of so many different Xboxes. Came really down to the solder that they were using on certain parts. That was not the better stuff not being usable in an international way because of the various rules that there were against the toxicity levels in certain electronic components, right? And they came up against this long before or long after they could have done anything about it. And there was information a long time ago that this was going to happen before it happened. We haven't really heard anything like that at all about the engineering of these devices. As a matter of fact, they've used the supposedly very sound engineering principles behind the design of these systems as a selling point. One of the things you can look at when you look at the Xbox One is that it is huge. It's giant. We've seen it with its shirt off, right? It's tons of extra space, huge giant fans, like the kind of thing that a power user puts in his custom-built PC, right? Big fans designed to move many, many cubic feet per minute of air, designed to put plenty of airflow through the system, cooling and silence, and plenty of space. Not some sort of artistic vision for how the console should be shaped, but a giant box that holds all the components, keeps them cool. They clearly are looking more toward avoiding the failures that they've already suffered with. They're obviously, optical drives are optical drives. They fail an awful lot. And the more people rely on optical drives, the more likely those are to be failing, because that's another major failure point of the Xbox 360s in particular.
Well, that's been going back since, the Xbox and the PS2.
No, yeah, that's exactly right.
Go back to the PlayStation 1. I mean, how many of us played their PlayStation upside down to keep it running?
So, but if you look at the fact that there are going to be more mandatory installs, you're probably looking at an awful lot less mechanical thrashing of the optical drives. So those are going to have fewer hard hours and minutes of wear on them. The PS4, I mean, is pretty dainty in comparison to the Xbox One, but they've spoken at length. Lots of people in general, Cerny in particular, about no, we're all the way behind the engineering of this thing. Yeah. It isn't just designed to be cutting edge. We understand its power needs. We understand its cooling needs. We are absolutely 100% behind this thing. And so they've just answered them from the upfront, and taking them at their word. I don't have any reason not to in this particular instance. I think they know they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Because they barely, I think both of them, Microsoft in particular, barely made it through the last generation, suffering the way that they did. I don't know. And it's just me guessing. That's just me guessing. But they don't seem to be very cavalier about it. They seem to be very aware of it.
Those are all really good points. I don't have a lot to throw at it from the other side, other than a couple of things, which I may as well bring up. Their yield issues, of course.
Yes.
I mean that there's probably substantial pressure to push through parts that are right at the edge of being usable. And also this last-minute increase in clock speed that we saw them add to the system.
Yeah. I would say that the yield...
On balance, the things you brought up will probably more than compensate for that. But
right. And you just have to assume that they're making the right... You have to hope, rather, that they're making the right decisions about yield. To whatever degree that actually is still a problem or ever was a problem. Again, we only have all of this peripheral evidence for it. And it does add up. But if you think about it, then what we can do is we can look at, 13 territories. That's what we can fulfill with what we're willing to put forward. So, I don't know. And this is mostly hopeful, right? I mean, I can't say for sure. I don't know. I haven't built either one of these systems. But there have been, people have taken a look at them. We can take what we know about these kinds of components, how these systems appear to be engineered, and then hope a lot. And I don't know. Hope they have really good warranties.
Next email comes from Nabokov fan. He sent us an email asking about the click. He says he was talking with James about his time with Dark Souls, and James mentioned that his time with the game finally paid off and wants to know if RJ has the same click in the games that he enjoys. First, tell us about why the game finally paid off for you.
Why?
I'm just...
I don't know, because it's great.
Okay.
Anybody that has ever tried to explain the game to you has done a bad job. Even if they have made an effort, and so many people have, to try to explain why it's good. It's one of those games that defies really, really good explanation. It's a hard game, but it's not hard in that way. It's unforgiving of stupid mistakes, but not really, because stupid mistakes are required. It's another game that absolutely wants you to learn in context. And it doesn't do anything unduly harsh it doesn't charge too much for its lessons, okay? It's going to kill you. You are going to die. Sometimes you may get lucky and live through it. Sometimes you may be cautious and die slower. But it is going to happen, and you are going to learn, and it is going to become rewarding, and it's going to do it at a really wonderful pace. So I don't know where that moment is, right? But the first two times I went through the game, two times I went into the game, rather, I was terrified. Every direction I would go scared me away from wanting to go that direction. And just recognizing that, okay, I'm never going to get anywhere if I don't just die horribly. You sort of surrender yourself to what little tiny bit you know about the game. And then recognize that as you go through it, the game isn't, as long as you're where you should be, using what you should, and doing the things you've been told to do, everything is fine. And then it becomes very skill-based, and everything unfolds really organically and really wonderfully. And just, I guess to answer your question as best I can, it clicked the way any good game does. At that moment when you realize I could have put this down an hour ago. What time is it? I meant to stop at 9 and it's noon, or it's the next day. It's midnight, right? It's that moment when you realize it's the thing I want to do when I get home from work. Mm-hmm. That's when it clicks.
That moment, that moment where you're at work thinking about the different ways, or you're planning like, if I'd have gone this way, or if I'd have just handled that situation from this angle, or if I'd have ducked left when I should have ducked right, or whatever the case. I know what you're talking about when you're thinking about those things.
You don't actually take note of it clicking, right? You don't pause the game and send a text message to somebody. Hey, it clicked. Just want to let you know. No, it's that moment when everything else disappears. Mm-hmm. When your anxiety goes away and all you want to do is continue with it. So I don't know where that is. It's sort of a it's a fuzzy line. It's kind of a soft margin.
Yeah, it's my case. I've always felt that a game or movie, anything entertaining would, if you lose all track of time while experiencing it, you've already got a good. Already got a good game.
It has already clicked.
It's already clicked for you. When you start losing track of time, that's one indication. But for Dark Souls, for me, it was that sense of accomplishment, going through something difficult, something other people couldn't go through or had a real hard difficulty doing. Finding all those rare, nice items, the loot that you get for beating a certain opponent. Going back again, your perseverance. Test yourself, push yourself, see how far you can go through this thing. And Dark Souls really did that for me. That's two of the things that clicked for me: loss of time and the accomplishment I got from playing through that.
How far into? I mean, you played that thing when we were done with last week's episode. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about, hey, let's do a stream the next day and that sort of thing, and we talked about that. But I looked at yours and it was like Dark Souls all day long on Sunday. So how far? I mean, have you?
In terms of time, I think I'm 40 to 50 hours put into it.
Yeah, 40 basically, hours, I just want to get your weekly update of your Dark Souls progression.
Well, it won't matter to anybody who hasn't played it, but I'm in Blighttown.
Same here.
I beat the depths.
Yeah, this is where I stopped at.
I finished out the depths, got the key to the other door. I've been kind of into Blighttown from the two different directions that I know to go. Mm-hmm. I think I'm level 40-something. Yeah. I think I've got 40-some-odd hours in.
Mm-hmm. How was your battle? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. We're talking about video games. That's what we're here for.
How was your battle with the gaping dragon?
That's the one in the depths, yes?
Yeah, that's one in the depths.
It was actually fine. Mm-hmm. I had actually no problems with it whatsoever. The first time I went in, I was okay in the depths. I was a little out of my depth in the depths, and I couldn't find the bonfire, and I was a little bit lost. But I found it, and I got cursed. Mm. And I did not at the time know that
that's popular.
It would be very easy to go buy an item and decurse myself.
Right.
So I took half a day, and the little thing pops up on the screen, and it's like, oh, you're cursed, man. Like, and when you're cursed, you have only half health. Mm-hmm. You need all your health.
Yeah.
So I told myself, I got to get this taken care of. Before I get it taken care of, I had found what I thought was the door to the boss. So I went down there and I was cursed. I was like, okay, I'm just going to have a look at the boss. But I'm just to see, just because I've already thrown this whole thing away.
To see what you got to deal with.
Right. Yeah. Died there, came back in once I had myself decursed, which, by the way, was a huge detour for myself. Because, again, I paid no attention to the message that told me I could get an item. I didn't go look for the item. I was told that there was a man in a place who could help me out. So I went to find that man. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In the place I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I had to fight my way to him, cursed.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. That took me like 9 tries to get all the way to him on half health. It's a guy in another place in another area where only stupid people go when they're cursed, apparently. But I did it. I was like, oh, wait, I'm cursed. RJ said that I can kill ghosts if I'm cursed. And I'm cursed. I must be meant to go to this place. And no, I was being stupid. So, anyway, 4 or 5 tries maybe, 4 tries. Actually, it was only 4 tries. Once because I was cursed. Once because, look, now he does a thing with his tail. I didn't get that far last time. That hurts. Once because he stepped on my head and I fell through the world. And then the fourth time I killed him.
Cool. Okay. What weapon are you using, by the way?
I am using a heavily upgraded winged spear. And I am in the process of upgrading. What is it? It's raw. Raw is one upgrade path. I'm doing a raw. Is it a spiked club, or?
Yeah, I think it's raw is an element that you get. Just make it a plain weapon. I think it hits harder than normal.
Right.
Yeah, it hits harder than normal, but there's no like.
But you can't upgrade
aspect of it.
Yeah. So yes, I'm using a spear and I'm using a club, but the club hits very, very hard and has a bleed chance. So those are the things I'm doing. I'm enjoying it an awful lot.
Okay, I was just saying that if you every dragon you face, one little thing I've always noticed, just if you can take the tail off.
Right.
If a bladed weapon, something you can cut with, always try to take the tail off, get yourself a new weapon that way.
They're usually, the only problem, of course, being is that they're gated by strength, and I'm building a dexterity-based character. I have the really, really cool tail of the guys, the gargoyles, the bell.
Yeah.
The belfry gargoyles.
Tail axe, yeah.
Have that, can't use it.
Not strong.
Because I'm weak.
Okay.
But I'm fast. So, anyway, doesn't matter. I'm enjoying it immensely. Doesn't matter to you what I'm saying here. You'll never remember. You'll never remember the things that are coming out of my mouth right now because for whatever reason, without context, the game makes no sense. All I can really tell you is I can't recommend it to enough to almost anyone. Unless you absolutely hate RPGs, action of any sort, and rewarding combat. You'll love the game. But its reputation has preceded it, and it's not a fair reputation, I don't think. People have done their best to try to explain it honestly, but something about that explanation just doesn't jibe with what the game actually is. I don't know how to explain it any further. It's fantastic. And Blighttown, though, I'm not a fan.
No, everything's poison and the occasional fire-breathing puppies. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. You should be fine, though. Keep it. Look,
I fall down a lot.
Well, get back up.
Yeah, I fall down really far, like all the way down.
Oh, no, you can't get up.
No, I can't.
Get back. Oh, wait. No, you can't get up from there. Nab wants to know, what would James say now to the James who is scared of the game and having nightmares about it? Oh,
I would, if I could say something to that James, I would absolutely toy with him and tell him it's the most terrifying experience in the entire world.
Track Zero wants to know if any of us have played through the Dishonored DLC. I'm guessing he's talking about the Witches of...
The Brigmore Witches.
The Brigmore Witches.
I haven't. I played it on the console. I did not pick it up on the PC when it was on sale, and that's really where I would prefer to play the DLC. The word is that there are two pieces of story-based DLC, Knife of Dunwall and Brigmore Witches, and they are both, Brigmore in particular, fantastic. So I really wish I had picked it up on sale so that I would at least already be ready for the DLC. Well, the DLC is a $10 DLC? Is that right? Or is it more than that? Is it $15?
I thought it was
maybe
more than
20.
That. Yeah.
Is that right?
I'm thinking it may be closer to 15 to 20, I think. But the part of this is that when the holiday sale comes around, you'll be able to grab the full package of everything for probably $15 to $20. Will get you that and everything. So, I'm sorry, $10 for the second one. Wow, that's not too much. That's not too bad at all.
I fully intend to play both pieces of that DLC. It was something I was looking forward to for a very long time. But I had already completed the game, so I avoided the cheaper option, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just about to ask what merited $20 for a DLC.
Oh, it kind of depends. I mean, I've played DLC that's long enough, story-based, to merit $20.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week, we've got, what do we have? We have Saints Row 4, we have Splinter Cell, we have XCOM, the Bureau, XCOM, releasing all on the same day. Tuesday is when those 3 games come out. So quite a lot of stuff for August. Usually you get 1 or 2, but I mean...
1 or 2 things near the end of August that make an effort to sort of kick the season off.
But I mean, in the past 2 weeks, we've had Papers, Please, the 3 games that I just mentioned, and Payday 2, again, I'd really like to play it. I'm really interested in it. But what else? Gone Home release as well.
I bought that. I have not played it enough to talk about it, and even if I had, I can't talk about it.
that's fine.
That's the rule.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to talk about it because I don't want to be spoiled in that. That looks, from everything I've heard about, that looks like a game that would be right up my alley for some reason. Just exploration type game, if that's what it is, but that's what I've heard that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not going to listen to your...
my tone?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to listen to your tone. But it looks like something that I would... Oh, and Brothers as well.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another one. Good. There's a lot out there for just the month of August. And very soon, September gives us Grand Theft Auto, Beyond Two Souls, that sort of thing. So we're going to have a lot coming up in September. So got to get around to playing
Final Fantasy 14.
There's that. Yeah. And then there's Final Fantasy 14, which, by the way, if we
Can
I
take a side note?
Go ahead. We've got 5 minutes. You need longer than that.
I can't stream. We still can't stream.
You can't.
Final Fantasy 14.
You can sit here and tell me everything you want to about it.
I can show you pictures of anything I want
up there, but if you want moving stuff,
I still can't stream. Look,
no.
I will. I understand they embargoed Phase 3 of the beta. I understand that they have worked immensely hard to fix what was a deeply flawed MMO from 3 years ago. I like it. I'm going to be talking an awful lot about it in the future. I play MMOs. I like them very much. If you don't, I certainly do understand that, but I play as many as I can. I'm very much looking forward, now that we are streaming, to going through the game, talking about what I like and don't like, and just kind of exposing it and why I like it in that way. Whatever. I was looking forward to that. I will even grant them that they are being very generous about how they're handling the game in Phase 4 of beta. It's an extremely limited, sort of open beta this weekend. Anybody who had participated before got to start yesterday. Everyone else gets to start today, Saturday, play tomorrow, and then it'll be done. And they'll take a week off to do whatever sort of bug fixing, the implementation of any kind of patches and updates or changes that they want to make. And then early access for people who have pre-ordered the game will start next Saturday. And the game's official launch will be on Tuesday, the 27th.
The same day, I believe, is the new content for WoW.
I'll get there.
Okay.
I will grant you that because they're being very generous with our characters in Phase 4 of beta, they are saying, look, if you play in this phase of beta, we're limiting you to level 20. We are limiting the story content to the stuff you've already seen. We don't want to expose you to the story-based elements of the game that come along later. We don't want you exhausting the content by playing 20 hours a day for 4 days straight. So we're going to limit you. There are plenty of options to do, plenty of good ways to spend your time. But assuming no catastrophic issues, no major exploits, no cheats, nothing that's going to ruin the economy or other players' experiences, your open beta character will transfer over and all of the progress will be maintained into early access and launch. It's very generous of them, and I like what they're doing there. And I will grant you that because they are still implementing changes, fine, keep the embargo for open beta. It's a little frustrating, but keep it there. But to extend the embargo all the way through to launch day, even past early access for an MMO is launch. The cat is out of the bag on early access. Okay, it's just a small extra bonus you're giving to people that have pre-ordered. And it is a good way for them to ease people in batch by batch instead of having everybody break down the gates on launch day. So that makes no sense. And I think something they are misunderstanding is that a lot of people are constantly on the fence about new MMOs, particularly MMOs that are in a world they may not like otherwise, such as Final Fantasy, or an MMO that is of a style they're not certain about, a traditional style or something like that. They're really missing the opportunity to expose themselves to a lot of people who are never going to spend the money until they get to see the game running. So,
yeah.
And then come along Tuesday, World of Warcraft's going to have their new content update on the same exact day. What a strange coincidence that is.
And they're letting you stream that all you want.
They always have.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream or even on their radio. Thank you as well. Thank you to everybody who grabs the show every week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We appreciate it. Don't forget to join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group that you can join with us over there. Plus, going to be giving out some free games. I bought the Humble Origin bundle just for one game, so I have a ton of other games to give away. So anyway, check all that out. We will see you next Saturday. Thanks for joining us.